Here we go.
Here we
Hey,
are.
here we
Hello.
are. I'm Liv,
And I'm Amy.
and this
This
is
is
Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone
Spooky.
Spooky.
Ooh.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. We are doubling down on one of our series themes this season, which is true crime. Cause
Mhm.
it's endlessly good.
It is.
Well, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I do not condone murder or violence
hmm
in any way. But you know what I mean. It's like kind of
Yes.
cozy. It's a little
Yeah.
bit cozy
It's
and
just
very
so,
spooky.
yeah, and intriguing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, there's some
What's
weird
that?
stuff out there.
There's some very weird stuff that that like gif from it's like circulating on the internet from the original Office, the UK Office, where it's Ricky
Mhm.
Gervais and he's like it's like
Yeah.
um an annoying 16-year-old with a 500-year-old female, and it's like, you intrigue me.
That's exactly right. That's
The
us.
hand, you intrigue me.
I
Oh
love it.
God. A
That's
500-year-old female would be like, they'd take one look at me and be like, no,
I'm not intrigued.
I'm not intrigued. Boring.
Yeah, I don't know, because you're more fiery. They'd look at me and be like, boring, loser, because I'm so
Loser.
steady.
Not even just like, no thanks, not interesting. They're like, loser.
Yeah,
I don't know, Amy. I think we're kind of like on the same level in terms of like life excitement. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I'm very happy, satisfied with my life and the level of excitement I have. Is it
yes,
like fighting evil queens? No, I have no interest in that.
yeah. Neither do I.
None.
Yeah,
Zilch. But
true.
whatever. I mean, maybe if I was like turned into a fae, I would, but we're not there yet in the
Right.
plot.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm still living the pre-fae life.
we're like 16 years too old now for
Yeah,
them to
literally have
care about us.
aged out
hmm
of the potential fae love interest. Imagine Noah on our wedding night is just like, I have to tell you something. I'm fae. I would be like,
500 years old.
and I'm out of here. I'd be like, we have to defeat the evil queen. I'd be like, you have to defeat the evil queen. I'll be here
Yeah,
by the beach.
yeah. You can come
Love
back for
ya.
me when
Yeah,
that's
you can
done.
come back for me.
Yeah.
We're gonna file jointly on our taxes
Uh-huh.
next year, and you can fight an evil queen.
Perfect. Love it.
Hmm. Yeah, and if
Man,
he were captured, I hope your friends can help.
good luck. I know. Yeah. What would we possibly have to offer?
Like, I wasn't, I didn't learn how to hunt because I was starving as a child.
No.
I wasn't
No.
like, I didn't learn how to become a thief. Like, I don't
Mm-mm.
know how to fight. I wasn't
No.
trained by some like mysterious uncle after my
Mm,
parents were murdered.
no.
Like, none of that has happened for me. I
No.
could do like some cardio kickboxing.
Right.
I don't think that's
That
gonna cut
helps.
it. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So funny.
Um, okay, I have two. I think you have two. Should we
Yes.
alternate?
Sure. That
Should
sounds
we
good.
should we alternate?
Let's alternate.
Okay. You're first.
Okay. Um, Let me choose which one I want to do.
Yeah,
Um,
choose wisely.
I'll do my more traditional true crime one first.
Excellent.
Okay, so this is the murder of David Chase. So he, at the time of his death, was 42 years old, living in Evergreen, Colorado. He worked as a craftsman and a cabinet maker, and he was married to his wife, Judy Amber Chase. So they had no children of their own, but they were, at the time of his death, fostering two twin children who were living with them, and they were working on adopting them. So, first, like the backstory is that on June 6th, 1995, he was scheduled to do some handiwork, I guess, with their neighbor, who was a 34-year-old handyman named Matt Orahosky, I think is how you'd say that. So that day they were going to do a roofing job and then like clear some brush from around their local Elks Club. So they worked really fast and the job was already done by noon. So they had lunch and then they went to a bank where David cashed an $1,800 check that was in advance for a different job that he had coming up. They then went to a local bar, and sadly, David never came home. So,
R.I.P.
I know, poor David. By the evening, when David still hadn't called, Judy is getting rightfully very concerned. She waits up all night long, and when he still hadn't come home in the morning, she goes over to Matt's house because she knew that they were working together. And Matt tells her, I don't know, I just left him at the bar last night. That was the last I saw him. But later that morning, Matt's girlfriend calls Judy, and she said that when she asked Matt about David after she had come over, he said that David had a raft and was also going to go swimming in the river. So
at night?
Right. Like
What?
after the bar, gonna just jump in a raft and go down the river.
That's wild.
Yeah. And Judy is like, no, he would never do that. Particularly because this is June in like a mountain town in Colorado. The river is rushing and freezing cold.
Freezing cold, yeah.
Because it's all snow melt. So she's like, David would never do that. So Judy doesn't believe it. She's going to the police. And they question Matt, and he told them basically the same story that he told his girlfriend about him jumping in the river, I guess. He also said that they had been drinking most of the day. He said they had at least 4 pitchers of beer. So
2 each?
Yeah.
Well, that would kill me,
beer.
so
Yeah,
there's your explanation.
Yep, yeah. So, but this is what Matt claims, and we don't trust him.
Don't trust him.
Yeah. He also says that the reason they went to the last bar that they went to was because it backs up to the Bear Creek River, and they were planning to just dump the brush that they had cleared into the river. And this is another detail that Judy is like, no, David wouldn't do that. He was, she said, fanatical about keeping their wilderness areas pristine. So there's another detail. She's like, this is not what David would do. But Matt is like, yeah, David just jumped into his raft in the river and he said, come pick me up in Morrison, which is a town that's downriver from Evergreen, and then never saw him again. So 6 weeks later, David's body is found in the Bear Creek River, 3 miles away from the bar. And an autopsy showed that his death was consistent with drowning. However, it also showed that he was not drunk at the time of his death. So the 4-pitcher thing is not real. And it also showed that his neck was broken and there were unusual cuts on both of his legs. There was also
He's
evidence...
sorry, he's like, yeah. He's gonna go for a swim in the river. Like, it's like swim with the fishes.
Pretty much.
Is this guy like a mob boss? Also, even if Matt's like story is who leaves their friend? You know your friend's hammered, and so you let them in the middle of the night go on a freezing rushing river?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
no.
No. And he was like, come get me. Well, according to Matt, he said, come get me
Yeah.
in Morrison. And then he never went to come
Right.
get him or check on him. That's, yeah.
And why didn't he say that in the first place?
Right.
Was it the girlfriend or the mom who was worried?
The girlfriend.
The girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
and
why not tell the truth?
Right. I know. Very strange.
Sus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's got those cuts on his legs. It also looks like his clothes were ripped, like they were shredded. The only thing that's fully intact are his socks and shoes, and then part of the pant leg, but it's also like shredded. And so they're like, this looks like somebody did this on purpose, not like it just happened in the river. So the police question Matt again, and this time his story changes. So they're very suspicious now.
Yeah.
In the new version of things that he told the police, he said that he and David left the bar together and drove a little ways down the street to dump the brush into the river. And he claims this time that David fell into the river instead of jumped, and he doesn't mention the raft. And at this spot that he says they drove down to, it's less than 50 feet from a fire station and like just a little bit away from the bar, but he never went to ask anyone for help. So if your friend fell in the river in front of a fire station, that would be my first move. But Matt's an idiot, so didn't do it.
An idiot or evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay. But even though there's all these inconsistencies now, there's not enough evidence to actually prosecute Matt for anything, so the case stalls. But this is where it gets weird. So a private detective named Phil Harris contacts Judy with a really weird story. So he says that on the night of October 15th, 1995, he fell asleep in his easy chair. And a few hours later, he awoke to the sound of a disembodied voice saying, "My name is David Chase. I was murdered. I want you to investigate. Go buy the Sunday paper." And so he went out and bought the paper, and sure enough, there was an article in there about David's death. And so Phil says to his wife, like, I think I'm being called to solve this case.
But he's not like someone who does this. Like, this was like a one-off thing. He's not like a medium.
No. He, by this account,
he's just
is
some guy.
A detective, like a private detective you could hire to, like, find your cheating husband or something. So, yeah. That's why he really is, like, exclaiming to his wife, I think I have to do this.
Yeah.
So Phil and Judy meet up. She's very skeptical until they keep talking about it, and Phil is like, I heard this voice. It also told me, like, your pet name for each other. And she was like, okay. I mean, I'm not going to turn down the help.
Yeah.
And he says, I will do this for $1. I'll investigate until it's solved. Yeah. So Phil continues to hear this voice sometimes, like off and on. He says it would most often come to him early in the morning. And so, just in case he were to hear it one day, he starts to sit at his computer every morning. And since he's a fast typist, he can type out whatever the voice was telling him. And so he claimed that eventually he gets this full account of the night of David's death.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So David's like, all right, same time tomorrow.
He's like, this is what happened to me.
And tune in next week for the next installment of my podcast, My Murder.
My own murder.
Jesus.
But yeah, so this is what Phil was told by this voice. This is not like officially confirmed or corroborated by anyone. But so the voice tells him that Matt had convinced David to cash the check that he had rather than just depositing it, and that he suggested that David could use the money to buy a truck that they had been talking about David buying from Matt. But as they were leaving the bar, David told Matt, like, I'm having second thoughts about buying the truck. I don't know if it's the right time. But Matt gets angry because he was like, you promised me this money. This money belongs to me now. Like, I need it. And they get into a fight. And David is hit with a blunt object, which is what breaks his neck. And according to Phil, the voice said that Matt then called in an accomplice who helped him get rid of the body and like the clothes and whatever object was hit with. And the accomplice is the one who used a knife to cut off his clothes, which would explain like the shredding. And that's what left the cuts on David's legs. They then dump his body into the river.
So he wasn't actually dead because he died from drowning.
Yeah, I think so. So, which is so awful. Poor David.
Yeah.
But yeah, and about a year after his death on June 7th, 1996, Phil took Judy to a local reservoir where he says the voice told him the murder weapon and his clothes were thrown into this reservoir. And he believed that the accomplice that Matt had is the one who did this. But tragically and also kind of weirdly, Phil died just 1 week after that without being able to finish solving the case or like searching the reservoir or whatever. So unfortunately, I think this is still a cold case. Like, Matt was never officially charged with anything, even though the official homicide investigator did call for a warrant for him, but nothing official ever happened. And so sadly, we still don't know what happened to David. But strangely, also, in the years since David's murder, Judy is kind of, I don't want to say going off the rails because I don't know what she knows, but she was now thinking that maybe his murder had some connection to the custody case that they were in to get or to adopt their former foster children. And they also, she said that in the process of like looking into this more, that she uncovered like a large child trafficking network. And so she wonders like if David was embroiled in that somehow, not like as a trafficker, but as part of their,
like, found out or something.
Yeah, because they also were starting up, I guess, like a foster home for children of drug addicts. So he was definitely like involved in this community. And she also wondered if Phil's death was related because he was talking to like similar people and maybe he found out something too. So,
God.
Yeah, but I don't think we know anything still, so sadly.
Okay, well, don't trust Matt. Jesus, over a truck? No. Like, relax.
I know, seriously. Maybe he had 4 pictures by himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of his mind, but
that's crazy.
I don't really know what to make of what Phil was hearing or not hearing, but
who because what incentive would he have to just like make that up?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he was getting paid.
No, and they didn't know each other. It was just like, I heard this and then I saw it in the paper. So
weird.
If his order of events is to be believed, he didn't know about the case until after the voice came to him. So
That's so interesting.
I don't know.
Hmm.
But that's that one.
That's a really interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine is a little bit more in the vein of like spooky history. And I thought it would be fun to do at least one that's Salem focused, because this year is actually the 400th anniversary of Salem, like of it
Whoa.
existing.
Wow. Okay.
So cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about Salem's Gardner Pingree House, which is thought to be one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted house in Salem. So the Gardner Pingree House, I'm just going to call it the GP House because Gardner Pingree is a bit of a mouthful. The GP House was built for John Gardner Jr., who was a wealthy Salem merchant, and his wife Sarah in 1804. The home was designed by Samuel McIntyre, who was one of the earliest architects in the United States. Born in Salem in 1757, McIntyre was a woodcarver by trade who went on to become one of the most celebrated architects of his time. He specialized in the Federal style of architecture, which got its name from the Federalist era, which was a time period in American history from roughly 1789 to 1801, when the Federalist Party was dominant in American politics. It is very much that like northeastern look of homes. There's a lot of like brick kind of masonry and like the sort of round wooden like trim and things like that. The like French windows and shutters and all that kind of stuff. It's that very like quintessential turn of the century like American look. So the house, the GP house, is said to be the finest surviving example of the many Federal style houses in Salem between 1793 and 1825. But it also has a bit of a dark past. So the GP house is actually the Gardner West White Pingree House, as the house was sold in 1811 to Nathaniel West when John Gardner had some financial difficulties. And then 3 years later, West sold the house to Captain Joseph White, a wealthy retired merchant. Captain White then lived in the house with a manservant and his niece, Mrs. Beckford, who worked as his housekeeper and who had a daughter that was married to Joseph J. Knapp Jr. and lived in Wenham, Massachusetts. So one day, so Captain White has the manservant, the niece, Mrs. Beckford. She's the housekeeper. Her daughter is married to Joseph Knapp. Okay. Joseph's a very important character here. So one day, Joseph learns that the 82-year-old captain, so his like great uncle-in-law, I guess it would be, had made out a will leaving $15,000 to Mrs. Beckford. And it was then that he got the idea that if his, great uncle by marriage were to die without a will, that his mother-in-law would inherit half of Captain White's sizable fortune instead, which would be about $200,000. A lot of money at that time.
Yeah.
So by default, some of that fortune would then go to him via his mother-in-law and his wife. So, being an ambitious and impatient man, Joseph conspired with his brother John, who was also ambitious and impatient, to hire a local criminal by the name of Richard Crowninshield to hurry his great uncle along to the grave. Yeah. So on the night of April 6th, 1830, Captain White was brutally murdered when Crowninshield entered the house through a window that had been left open by Joseph earlier in the day, went to the bedroom where Captain White was sleeping, and fractured his skull with a club, so literally bludgeoned him to death, as well as stabbing him 13 times with a dagger. Like,
that's
literal
overkill.
overkill. Literal overkill. So the murder, of course, was shocking in the town of Salem. They did not get away with it. It wasn't like, oh, yes, he just died. Like, it was very clearly a murder.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting is it actually inspired Nathaniel Hawthorne to write about it in Mr. Higginbotham's Catastrophe, which appeared in Hawthorne's Twice Told Tales, a collection of short stories. It's believed it may have also inspired parts of The Scarlet Letter, and Edgar Allan Poe's famous story, The Telltale Heart. And that is because of something that was said during the trial, which we'll get to in a second. That was published in 1843. The house also is believed to have inspired the Parker Brothers board game Clue.
Oh, I love that game.
So, like Mr. White in the parlor with the candlestick or whatever.
Yeah.
So, there's a bit of a nod actually to his character, or this actual historical person. So the Knapps were prosecuted by the great Daniel Webster, who was one of the most successful lawyers of the era. He was primarily a defense lawyer, but also was known to serve as a prosecutor from time to time. His courtroom skills and persuasive oration eventually set legal precedent, and the two brothers were found guilty and hanged for their role in the crime. Their hired man, Crown and Shield, had actually already committed suicide earlier on when he realized that there was no way he was going to get away with this murder. So he actually, I think, ended his life like much earlier. Like I think it was very shortly after the death of Captain White. So, as for Poe's possible story inspo, it's been said that it may have come from Webster's argument on the trial, which he published as a pamphlet. In a text, Webster wrote that the murderer's guilt will eventually reveal itself, and that, quote, the secret which the murderer possesses soon comes to possess him. It overcomes him. He feels it beating at his heart, rising to his throat, and demanding disclosure. He thinks the whole world sees it in his face, reads it in his eyes, and almost hears its workings in the very silence of his thoughts. It has become his master, end quote, which is like so Poe.
Yeah.
So totally can see how that would have been inspiration for Edgar Allan Poe. So there's you can actually read like the court case from 1830 online, which is kind of crazy. And there are more allusions to like other pieces of inspiration that Poe probably found from this case. So as for the house, in 1834, it was sold to David Pingree, and ownership remained in the Pingree family until 1933, when it was donated by the Pingree heirs to the Essex Institute, which later merged with the Peabody Museum to become the Peabody Essex Museum. So it's now quite literally just part of a museum. Today, in addition to being part of the Essex Block Historic House Tour, the house is a stop on many walking ghost tours that one can take in Salem, as it's believed to be very haunted, especially due to the circumstances around Captain White's death, naturally. But also, in some of the other sources that I've read, it also is just like, and we've done full episodes on Salem and like witches, like the amount of death and just like accusation and just dark energy that was in Salem around this time. This is a little bit after the witch trials, but it was already pervasive in the community, and they were all still sort of like healing from the wounds of that time as well. So it's thought that it's possible that there may be some witches who should not have died, and by witches I mean women, who also may sort of just haunt really all of Salem, and the descendants there. So people see ghostly faces looking out of the second floor windows. Many claim to hear ghostly footsteps while touring the house. While this author was on a walking tour in October of 2008, they took a photo which shows an orb near the sort of like top right-hand side of the front door. And they were just taking photos. It was like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. They were like, I was not taking these photos like, I'm going to catch a ghost. Like they were just like, what a beautiful what
How
beautiful architecture and what a beautiful house and entryway. So they're just snapping photos. And later looking at them, they're like, that's so weird. There's this like orb right there. And it's a really common thing. Like people see orbs in this entryway by the front door. So that's kind of weird. But, you know, there's like no exact science to the whole thing. So, you know, they were sort of just like, okay, it's probably nothing. And this is funny because they didn't even really remember that this is the haunted house. So a quote from the site, having a memory like a sieve. I knew that one of the houses on Essex Street was supposed to be haunted, but I didn't remember which one. And in all honesty, I thought it was the house next door to the GP house. But when I was looking at these photos, I did a little research, looked through photo files, and was like, oh shit, it is this house. So they have other photos that they share as well that are a little bit harder to explain, but I will. They're sort of subtle, but it's essentially just like multiple photos just taken kind of like back to back to back, like bursts of photos taken of the entryway, but it was taken on like a proper camera, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's showing the house, and there's this like fog, this like line of like kind of human shaped fog. And then in the next shot, it's moved over. And then in the next shot, it's moved over. Like
Perfect.
very weird.
Yeah.
And of course, the writer here was just like, you know, this could be anything. Like it could be a trick of the light or something, but it just seems really, really weird. So what they said was, I took these photos at the exact same time, as I tend to have my camera set on continuous shooting mode. I think because I got into taking pictures of trains, so you would have to do a ton of shots.
Yeah.
And then they say, at any rate, see that slightly foggy area to the sides of the steps. I can think of no good reason as to why that's there in those photos, as there was no sun that would have caused reflections. It wasn't a humid day. It wasn't foggy. And nowhere do I have that sort of effect on any of the other 200 plus pictures I took that afternoon. Now, I'm not saying those foggy areas are definitely paranormal, but I am saying that I can't think of any good reason as to why they're there. And the house does have a rather interesting backstory. Needless to say, when I saw those pictures, it gave me pause. And that, my friends, is what ghost stories are generally made of. So that's kind of interesting. Other accounts of the haunting. So witnesses, like I said, claim to see ghostly faces peering from the property windows, particularly the second floor, which is, I think, where the bedroom of the captain was. So they snuck in through the ground floor window, but then walked upstairs to kill him. They like stare down at onlookers too. So they're not like shy. It's not like, did I just see what I thought I saw? It's like, oh no, that's like a person looking at me, and then they're gone. Strange orbs of light tend to appear in photographs taken of the building, particularly from the outside. Captain White's allegedly his footsteps are often heard clomping around, while the disembodied figure of a child has also been seen peering from the downstairs window. So, yeah, unclear as to who that is, but interesting all the same. And then going back to this idea of like maybe other, you know, scorned women are also kind of haunting the house. Someone posted a photo that is really weird. It looks like a woman in a red dress is taken at night. It should be empty. The place should be empty. It's literally like part of a museum, like historic homes tour. It looks like the light from like the street lamp is shining on like the neck and like upper body of a woman in like a red Victorian style dress with some sort of like elaborate looking necklace on. Like it looks like something out of Hamilton.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
It's weird. It's very weird. And there are multiple orbs in the photo as well. Really weird. Really so like weird. Who is that? Yeah. Unclear. It's just very, very odd. So that is Salem's Gardner Pingree house.
Love it.
Love it.
I want to go to Salem so bad.
So we have to go. We have to go. We have to go.
I know. Yeah, one day.
My mom was like, should we go to Salem? And I was like, I think I have to go with Amy. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's a must.
I appreciate that.
It's a must.
Or we could all go together.
We could all go mother-daughter trip.
Mhm.
Would your mom like that?
She's fine with anything.
She's down. She's down for whatever. She's down to clown.
Yeah.
My girl.
She'd be happy to be there, but she wouldn't love it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but that's okay. I also was in Boston not that long ago and talking to my, whatever she is to me, second cousin, I think, who has a very strong Boston accent. And she said that they say Peabody instead of Peabody.
Peabody?
Peabody, like basically Peabody.
It's very like Scottish seeming.
Yeah.
Peabody. So, the Peabody Museum.
Yeah, it is like that. I don't know if everyone says that or if she has like a particular.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah. No.
Let's see.
Peabody.
How to pronounce Peabody. Peabody. Oh, really? Shit.
Oh my god. Okay.
Peabody or Peabody. So it's a known thing. I think Peabody, Massachusetts. Yeah. That's probably the right way to say it. It sounds like both are right, though.
Yeah. Peabody.
Peabody.
Yeah.
That's funny. That sounds like something an alien would say. Peabody.
Peabody.
Peabody. We come in peace.
Yeah.
What was that?
Like almost there. That's how it looks when I try to do it on my right hand. I can't do it.
What? You can do on your left, but not your right?
These two fingers won't go together. There we go, almost. I don't know what that is.
I have tricks.
I can only do it on my left.
Ugh, it's like hand yoga. Makes my head hurt.
It was a good challenge.
It is a good challenge. Okay, hit me with number 2.
Okay.
That sounded...
Just... I won't do that.
Hit me with story number 2.
Yes. Okay, cool. This one is not like classic true crime. It's like a crime against humanity in the form of slavery in the US.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of
light. Really light.
So sorry about that.
It fits.
Yeah.
That is like the biggest true crime of all.
That's true. So, okay, but this is happening in modern day. So it's, 1982.
Okay.
So Sam and Judith Haney are one of several couples or families who purchased houses in the Newport area of Houston, Texas. Around a year after buying and moving into their house, Sam decides that he wants to put a swimming pool in their backyard.
Good for you.
Yeah, he starts digging, and so it's like clearly you can tell there's work being done. And so this elderly man comes up and he's like, "Hey, you're about to dig up human remains." And the reason he knew that is because he's the one that buried them there when the land was still a cemetery.
Oh.
Yes.
That's different.
Not a murderer.
I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
You're like, you said this isn't true crime. That's fucking true crime.
It was him as a grave digger.
Okay, yeah. But also, why is this house built on a cemetery?
Great question.
Okay, sorry. Proceed.
Get to that, sort of. But, yeah, for some reason, Sam decides to keep digging. And
he's like, don't care. We need this pool.
I have to have a pool. It's like 1,000 degrees in Texas.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but he keeps digging, and there are 2 pine boxes exactly where this elderly man said they would be.
Okay, but at least they're in boxes. They're not like loose bones.
Right. Yes, it's like an
just
official
burial.
Yeah. So Sam calls the sheriff, and the county coroner comes out to conduct an official exhumation. They do open the caskets and they find that mostly the bones are disintegrated at this point, but there are 25 like intact fragments in each coffin, basically. And there were also 2 wedding rings discovered in the coffins, which is kind of sweet, kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam and Judith, now that this is in their backyard, they're like, I would like to know who these people are. So they ask around. They end up getting in touch with somebody named Jasper Norton, who has lived in this area for forever. And he says, oh, yeah, I also used to dig graves there when I was a teenager.
What?
Because you were just like, you're a young man for hire.
Yeah.
Come dig this grave.
Grave?
Yeah.
Girls are babysitters, boys are grave diggers. Great.
Exactly.
Perfect.
We all do what we can. But yeah, and he says that this subdivision was built on top of a African American cemetery that was called Black Hope, and the majority of the deceased were former slaves. So, when they were building these houses, for some reason, on top of this cemetery, they destroyed all traces of the cemetery on top, but obviously they didn't take out the bodies and just left them there and proceeded with construction.
It's also just like, of all the cemeteries to like fuck with, you're gonna like
why
essentially desecrate the graves of like enslaved people after everything. Come on.
Yeah, after all that they went through, just let them rest.
Yeah, not a good vibe.
Yeah. And so yeah, they continue to do research about who these people might be, and they do figure it out that in that particular spot, Charlie and Betty Thomas were buried. Yeah. And they each had been born into slavery but were freed during the Civil War, which this was, I had to like do the math to make sure that this was real time, like could be real.
Yeah.
So the last burial in this cemetery was in 1939. And I guess if you were born like into slavery in 1861 or whatever the date would have been, you could be 60 years old, right? If you were buried in 1930. So yeah, I don't know why that was boggling my mind, but
yeah, 60 or 70, I guess. Yeah.
So I don't know, but that just feels like the Civil War feels like so long ago. But like my grandma was born in 1930, so the people who were enslaved would have been 60 when she was born.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Grammy was born in 1933 and her mother was born in 1901.
Yeah.
Damn, y'all old.
Yeah. It's like feels like ancient history now. But
yeah, like there are now like people drinking who were born after the year 2000, like drinking legally.
That's not real.
That's sick. That's sick, dude.
It is. I know. Because
why is it like something about the 2000 is what makes it sick? Like it's like, yeah, 1999, of course. Like you're basically a millennial. Decade. Yeah, but it's like no.
I know. That's not possible.
You're a tiny baby forever.
Right. I feel the same way. And it's sometimes I still have it like, 10 years ago was 2000.
Yeah.
But
or like 20 years ago was the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
not so much anymore.
Quite. Yeah.
So,
fucking yikes, dude. Anyway.
We're old. Yep.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So let's see. Okay, Charlie and Betty. So they died in the 1930s. They're buried there. Judith and Sam feel very guilty for having dug up their graves, and they want to rebury them. So they do, but unfortunately, it seems as though they don't go back to rest. So,
oh,
one
it's giving
night,
poltergeist.
I know. It's interesting. So, one night, Judith sees that her like alarm clock that she has is glowing and also sparking, and she goes running over because she's like, oh my god, is there an electrical problem? But it was unplugged. So just one weird thing. And then on another night, Sam was working the night shift, so Judith was home alone. She took a shower, and as she was getting out, she heard the sliding glass door of their house open and close. And then she heard someone ask, what are you doing? And so she goes out looking, assuming it was Sam, but there was no one there and no like evidence
I
of
don't
entry.
like that.
Yeah, I would hate that. Then, yeah, the next morning after that, Judith is getting dressed and she's looking for this specific pair of red shoes that she has, but they were nowhere to be found in her closet. So they turn the house upside down and never find them until they go into the backyard and discover her shoes on top of where Charlie and Betty's grave was. And so they now have like some information about Charlie and Betty,
God.
and they
Okay.
realize that it was Betty's birthday. And they're like, maybe he came in and got the shoes to give to her as a birthday present.
Oh,
So
wait, that's cute.
that's cute. I
But
don't know
also
how.
kind of scary.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. It's just interesting. But yeah, so that's Sam and Judith's story, but they were not the only people that experienced things in this neighborhood. Dozens of people that lived around here in this subdivision said their lights would turn on, their TVs, and also water faucets would turn on and off. A lot of people heard weird, like unexplainable sounds, and some even saw apparitions, like full body apparitions. And so one other family that was like most deeply affected was Ben and Jean Williams. They moved in around the same time as Sam and Judith. And shortly after, Jean noticed that her plants kept dying. She also reported that in her garden outside, there were these sinkholes that kept appearing, and they looked like they were in the shape of like a coffin, basically.
Oh, God.
And so they would fill them in, and then it would just reappear again a few days later.
That's so weird.
I know. I'm like, how much dirt are you piling in and it's still falling? That's a little unnerving. But
I'm like, what's under there?
I know. Is it going to the core of the earth?
Right. Or like to
know.
another grave hidden in
Right.
there somewhere.
Yeah, true.
Barf. Barf.
Yikes. So, yeah, then they're investigating the area and they finally notice some weird markings on a tree right near the sinkholes. And the marking on the tree is an arrow pointing toward the ground. And there's also 2 horizontal slash marks. And as this is all coming to light and they're talking to people who have lived there a long time, this other resident that gave information to Sam and Judith was like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that grave because my sisters are buried there. And so Ben and Jean feel, again, really guilty for desecrating these graves. And they unfortunately start to experience supernatural things as well. So theirs are more scary to me. They see shadows a lot, like even sliding along the wall, kind of like as you watch it move. They hear a lot of whispers and there's some bad smells. They had their granddaughter Carly living with them for a while, and Carly reported that sometimes in like the blazing heat, she would still walk around the house and feel pockets of ice cold air. And that would be accompanied with this feeling of like something is not right here.
Yeah.
And she was terrified. She also said that the toilets used to flush on their own a lot. And
Oh, what?
yeah, as the water was going down, she would also hear like a murmuring sort of sound, like either a conversation happening or like somebody talking to themselves. And she was like, maybe they were flushing the toilet to try and like get my attention because they would,
Yeah.
that was like a real tangible sound. And then
Yeah.
they were trying to talk. I don't know, but that was just her theory.
Use the white
Um,
noise or something, maybe?
yeah, who knows? But Um, yeah, they also had an experience where they heard their back door opening and closing. They heard footsteps coming in to the door, but no one was there and the door was still closed. So, very bizarre. And Jean was saying that she absolutely believes that all of these things were happening because we were on the graveyard and that if we wanted this to stop, we had to move away.
Yeah.
But Ben is like, no, let's stay. But then he has a terrifying experience.
God,
Um,
that's what you
so
get.
I
That's
know.
what you get.
Yeah. So he works night shifts. And so he was coming home, like, weird night shift, I guess, because it said he was coming home at like 4 in the morning. And so it was still dark, but he went into the house and he saw two like shadowy figures like they've seen before. But they were in the den and then they moved down the hall toward the bedroom. He follows them and he sees one of these figures standing above Jean as she's sleeping in the bed. And so he's fearing for her safety. So he like jumps onto the bed and this shadow goes away. So then I think the straw that broke the camel's back was that within the span of just a few months, 6 of their close relatives were diagnosed with cancer and 3 of them
What?
died. And they felt like this is more than just
Yeah,
coincidence. They
that's
were
like
like,
not normal.
yeah, this feels like a curse, basically.
What the hell?
Yeah. So they leave eventually. Um,
Jesus.
but actually, and I said that was the last thing, but it's not. Um,
Oh, good.
so
There's more.
they try to pursue legal action, but the developers said you have to give us proof that the cemetery was even here, even though
Mm,
they clearly knew, but like they were
yeah.
saying that they had to provide this evidence. So Jean started digging up their backyard to get to the remains again, but she was like a little bit older at this point. She couldn't get down far enough, so their daughter Tina volunteered to finish the job. And after about half an hour, she started feeling really dizzy. So she came in and laid down, but she continued to feel worse. And so they called 911 and she was rushed to the hospital. But she suffered a massive heart attack and died 2 days later. And she was only 30 years old. So that's
What?
yet another death that they think like this is a curse, and that is what this was actually called, is
Oh my
the Black
God.
Hope curse. So yeah, they
Holy shit.
yeah, it's like so tragic. They just end up cutting their losses and going to Montana. Um, but they do eventually come back to Texas, just to a different area. And
Mm,
no one that lives in these houses currently has said that they've had anything happen. So hard to say what was going on with
yeah. I mean,
Ben
probably all
and
the
Jean.
disturbing the graves.
Right. Yeah. Because
Jesus.
hopefully people aren't digging pools and doing all of
No.
that anymore. But
No.
the going back to Sam and Judith really quick, they also tried to sue the developers for not disclosing that the house was built over a cemetery. And initially, a jury awarded them $142,000 for mental anguish. But then it was reversed, and the judge ruled that the developer was not responsible to tell them that. The verdict was thrown out, and Sam and Judith were ordered to pay $50,000 in court costs, and they had to file for bankruptcy. So this place
Evil.
is cursed. It's like, yeah, it's so deeply sad. The reason why
Yeah.
these spirits
Everything
might be
about
so
it.
restless. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the people who innocently really
Right.
disturbed these graves are now suffering um, for accidentally desecrating somebody's resting place.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus.
that
Well, I hope they get
is
haunted.
the developers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want
hope
anyone to
so.
die, but what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's it.
Last story. This
Yes.
is the mysterious murder of Roland T. Owen. This occurred, just scrolling down in my notes. This occurred in Kansas City in 1935. On January 2nd, 1935, at 1:20 p.m., a lone man checked into the President Hotel in downtown Kansas City. He had no luggage besides a comb and a toothbrush and asked for an interior room on the high floor of the hotel. He checked in under the name Roland T. Owen and complained to the bellboy about the outrageous prices of a neighboring hotel. After checking in and receiving his room 1046, on the 10th floor, he left the hotel only to be seen intermittently throughout his stay. Though the man's behavior struck the President Hotel's staff as odd, they didn't think much of him. After all, the hotel often played host to out-of-towners, businessmen, people looking for some late-night company, and the less the staff got involved, the better. They put a photo here. He just looks like a normal guy in the 1930s, like dressed in a nice jacket and tie and button down, like normal-looking dude. The staff wouldn't give his behavior another thought until days later, when the man turns up dead in his hotel room, and his hotel room is essentially like a bloodbath. So, yeah, as they described to police the brutal scene, questions arose about the man's behavior prior to his death, bringing to light just how strange that behavior had been. So, according to the Kansas City Public Library, that same day, the hotel maid, Mary Soptic, stopped by to clean his room. It was around noon, and most of the hotel's residents were out for the day. However, upon reaching Owen's room, Soptic found the door to be locked from the inside. She knocked, and Owen opened the door. After insisting she could come back later, Soptic eventually entered. She found the room in almost complete darkness, with the shades tightly drawn and the only light coming from a small, dim table lamp. As she cleaned, Owen mentioned that he had a friend coming to visit him shortly, and would she mind not locking the door? Soptic agreed, and Owen leaves the room. 4 hours later, Soptic returned to 1046 with fresh towels. She found the door still unlocked from when she had cleaned the room that afternoon, and upon entering, found Owen laying fully clothed on top of his still-made bed, seemingly asleep. A note on his bedside table read, "Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait."
What?
Like a
What's
nap.
going on?
Like he's taking a nap, but I'll be
Yeah.
back in 15 minutes. Wait.
Right.
The next morning, January 3rd, Soptic's strange interactions with room 1046 continued. Around 10:30 a.m., she stopped by to make the beds and found Owen's door to be locked from the outside, as it would be when patrons had left. Assuming Owen was not inside, she opened the door with her master key. To her surprise, Owen was sitting inside, in the dark, in the chair in the corner of the room, and as she cleaned, the phone rang and Owen picked up. "No, Dawn, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast," he said. And after a moment, he repeated, "No, I am not hungry." After he hung up, Owen began asking Soptic about her job and the hotel. The first time he'd ever really spoken to her beyond do you mind leaving the door open? He asked her about how many rooms she was in charge of, what kind of people lived in the President Hotel, if any, and again complained about the price of the neighboring hotel. Soptic answered, finished cleaning, and left Owen alone in room 1046. It was only after she left that she realized that since the door had been locked from the outside, someone had to have locked Owen in his room.
Yeah. Ew.
And he's just in there sitting in the dark. Yeah, weird.
Mm-hmm.
So later that day, Soptic again returns with fresh towels, having taken the ones from the room that morning. However, as she knocks this time, she hears two voices in the room, not just Owen. And when she announced that she had fresh towels, a loud, deep voice told her to leave, claiming they had enough fresh towels. But she knew that she had removed all of the towels from the room that morning. But she left them alone because she was like, I don't want to intrude on what's clearly a private conversation, and voices are raised. I'm just not going to get involved. So that same afternoon, the President Hotel got two more guests whose presence would contribute to the mystery of what happened to Roland T. Owen in room 1046. The first was Jean Owen, no relation, same last name, but not related to Roland. She had come to Kansas City to meet her boyfriend for the day and decided that rather than drive all the way back to her hometown on the outskirts of the city, she would stay for the night in a hotel. Upon checking into the President Hotel, Jean Owen was given the key to room 1048, so right next door to Roland. That night, according to police statements, she heard a repeated commotion. She, quote, heard a lot of noise, which sounded like it was on the same floor, and consisted largely of men and women talking loudly and cursing, end quote. When the noise continued, I was about to call the desk clerk, but decided not to. That's actually the end of the quote. I paraphrased. The other hotel guest was not exactly a guest. The bellhop who had been on duty that night described her as a commercial woman who often frequented the rooms of the hotel's male patrons late at night. So we can guess who that might be. Yeah. On the evening of January 3rd, she came into the hotel searching for a man in room 1026. However, despite being a very prompt customer, the woman couldn't seem to find the man that she was looking for. After searching for well over an hour on multiple floors, she gave up and went home. Both of the women's statements would then raise more questions about the fate of the man in room 1046. So she wasn't there looking for Roland. This was someone else just on the 10th floor. So now we get to the murder. The next morning, the bellhop received a call from the hotel's telephone operator. The phone in room 1046 had been off the hook for 10 minutes without anyone using it. The bellhop went up to check on Owen and noticed that the door was locked with a do not disturb sign hung on the doorknob. He knocked on the door, and Owen told him to come in. However, when the bellhop told Owen that the door was locked, he got no response. So he was like, come in, but he couldn't because the door was still locked. So the bellhop knocks again and then yells for Owen to hang up the phone, assuming he'd just been drunk and knocked it off the hook. However, an hour and a half later, the telephone operator calls the bellhop again. The phone in room 1046 is still off the hook and hasn't been hung up at all. This time, the bellhop lets himself into Owen's room with the master key. He's lying naked on the bed, seemingly drunk. So not wishing to deal with him, the bellhop simply puts the phone back on the hook, locks the door behind him, and he reports Roland to the manager to say, what the heck with this guy? To his surprise, an hour later, the telephone operator calls again, and the phone is again off the hook, though not in use. This time, according to the Kansas City Public Library, when the bellhop opens the door, he finds a bloodbath in the room. After the bellhop ran to alert others, a group returned and found Owen collapsed in the room, his head in his hands, suffering multiple stab wounds. The bedsheets, towels are all stained with blood, and the walls are covered in it as well. After police arrive, they ask a barely conscious Owen who had done this to him. So he's still alive, and he says nobody. Doctors and detectives observe that he has been tortured viciously. His arms, legs, and neck had been restrained by some kind of cord, and his chest had sustained multiple stab wounds. He also suffered a punctured lung and a fractured skull. So it's not possible that he had done this to himself.
Right.
So he's taken to a hospital, but unfortunately is pronounced dead at the hospital shortly after arriving in the early hours of January 5th, 1935. The doctors would also ascertain that the wounds on Owen had been inflicted well before the bellhop's first trip to his room that morning. They believed that he had attempted to call for help multiple times, but hadn't been able to make it farther than picking up the phone due to his injuries, which is so spooky.
Yeah.
So then investigators come and search the room, and the strangeness continues. There were no clothes in the room at all. Like he was like naked on the bed, and there were no clothes in the room anymore. And nothing matching the description of Roland Owen when he checked in. The hotel amenities like soap, toothpaste were also missing, as well as anything that could have been a murder weapon. The only thing of note that detectives found were 4 small fingerprints on the telephone stand, though they were never identified. Furthermore, detectives found that Roland T. Owen never existed. There was no record of any such man having lived anywhere in the United States, and they implored the public to come forward with any information they had about the murder victim. Shortly thereafter, the neighboring hotel that Owen had complained so much about got in contact, claiming that a man matching the description had stayed at that hotel on January 1st. He had checked in under the name Eugene K. Scott. However, upon further investigation, the police reached the same dead end that they had with Roland T. Owen. No man named Eugene K. Scott had any record of ever existing. Yeah. So, over the next couple of months, various people identified the body as a loved one, though none of the identifications stuck. Finally, the case ran cold, and the detectives decided to bury the body. The funeral home then received a mysterious call not long afterward from a woman who would not give her name, but did say she would be sending funds for Owen to have a proper burial. They received an envelope a few days later containing money wrapped in newspaper. As they arranged for the small funeral, a bouquet of flowers showed up at the funeral home with a letter that read only, "Love forever, Lucille." So weird. So a year later, a woman named Ogletree claimed that Owen was her son, who had been missing for years. She claimed his name was Artemis Ogletree and that he had been staying at another Kansas City area hotel at the time that he went missing. Though there wasn't any more evidence to her case than any of the others, police were eventually inclined to believe her, though experts claimed it was only based on lack of evidence in the rest of the case. It was just like grasping at straws at this point. But to this day, the case remains unsolved, opened yearly by the Kansas police as new pieces of evidence unfold. For the time being, however, it seems that the mystery of room 1046 may never truly be solved. So it's sort of like a closed door murder mystery. Like in some ways, it's like how did someone, like there were weird things all along, like him being locked in from the outside, and then like the weird note like I'll be right back when he's like where are you going? Are you like astral projecting somewhere? And then the fact that he was murdered but the door was locked from the inside.
Yeah.
And then there was all the weird stuff in the room, like where are the clothes and all the like toiletries, like there was none of his stuff there. The whole thing is just so weird.
They thought he died before the bellhop's second visit.
First visit.
First visit. So like,
yeah.
How was there?
So he knock on the door because he didn't get in. Remember? Because he knocks on the door. He's like, "Come in," and he's like, "I can't. The door's locked," and he doesn't answer. So he's like, "Just hang up the phone," and he leaves.
Yeah, but then didn't he go in and hang up the phone the second time? Or did I make that up?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. But so it said that they thought that he was hurt after the first time he went in.
Right.
The whole thing doesn't make sense. It's like time jumping. And then like who are these other people that everyone heard?
Right.
The whole thing is so bizarre. So it's like unclear if it's like supernatural or there's some sort of like I don't know, Sherlock Holmes kind of thing going on here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't either. Like, I don't even know how to begin to make a theory
No,
about
I don't
what's
either.
happening.
And he's on the 10th floor, so it's not like someone could have come in the window.
Right. Yeah, no one's scaling the wall.
And also, who the fuck even is this guy?
Right. Yeah, we don't know I mean, I guess
His
they
actual
think
name?
maybe they know.
Artemis? Yeah. Isn't Artemis a girl's name? Isn't
I think
Artemis a
she is a
goddess?
goddess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or
We
is
love a gender fluid name in the 1930s.
it? Yes. Let me
But
just see. Artemis.
Artemis.
Yeah, Greek goddess of the hunt.
Yeah, that's right. Anywho,
Cool.
R.I.P. Roland or
Yeah.
Eugene or whatever your name
Whoever you
is, my
are.
guy. Artemis.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
true crime.
I liked all of those. Those were some good stories.
Yeah, good stories. All right, friends. Well, we only have a few more episodes left in the season, which is crazy. So we will see you next week. And until then, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.